It happened on a freezing Tuesday morning in early March, just after 8:15 a.m., at a four-way intersection in downtown Milwaukee. Snow was still falling lightly, the kind that dulls sound and slows reaction time. Traffic cameras mounted on a signal pole captured everything from a high angle, grainy but clear enough to reconstruct the seconds that would later divide an entire nation. The woman's name is Lauren Whitfield, 29 years old, white, a marketing consultant who had recently relocated from Minnesota. The man's name is Marcus Hill, 34 years old, black, a municipal sanitation worker finishing an overnight shift. Two strangers, no prior interaction, no conversation, no relationship. Before we continue with what happened that morning, I want to hear from you. Stories like this affect all of us differently depending on where we are, what we've experienced, and what we've witnessed. Drop a comment below and let me know where you're watching from. Your city, your country, your perspective matters. And if this story resonates with you, hit that like button so more people can join this conversation. Now, let's get back to Milwaukee. Lauren was walking eastbound, eyes down, earbuds in, phone glowing in her hands. She later told investigators she was responding to an urgent work email, the kind that feels catastrophic at the moment but evaporates into irrelevance by afternoon. The pedestrian signal had not yet changed. A silver SUV approached from the south, accelerating to beat a yellow light. Marcus was standing near the curb, waiting for his bus. He noticed the SUV first. Then he noticed Lauren stepping forward. In that fraction of a second, Marcus Hill made a choice that most of us hope we would make. But hope and action are separated by a chasm most people never have to cross. Marcus crossed it. What happened next took less than 2 seconds. Marcus lunged. He wrapped his arms around Lauren's upper torso and yanked her backward with force. Her phone flew. Her balance broke. The SUV blasted through the intersection, missing her by what accident analysts later estimated was less than 18 inches. Marcus released her immediately. No lingering contact, no words exchanged, no smile, no apology, no explanation. He stepped back. Lauren stumbled. She screamed. People nearby turned. Someone shouted. Another person began recording on their phone. But the critical moment had already passed. The moment that mattered was already history, unreviewable, irreversible, and about to become infinitely interpretable.
Marcus walked away. Lauren called 911. Now, here's where the story fractures. Lauren's initial police call did not accuse Marcus of assault. The dispatcher log shows she reported being grabbed by a stranger and almost hit by a car. Officers arrived within 6 minutes. Marcus was already gone. Lauren declined medical attention. She took a rideshare home. She sat in the back seat, trembling, not from cold, from something else, something harder to name. Was it fear? Shock? Gratitude mixed with violation? She would later tell her therapist she couldn't separate the terror of nearly dying from the terror of being touched without warning by a stranger. Both feelings occupied the same psychological space, inseparable and suffocating. The surveillance footage was reviewed that same day. Police classified the incident as no criminal wrongdoing observed. Case closed. Until it wasn't. 3 days later, Lauren filed a formal complaint through her attorney. Not against the driver, who was never identified, against Marcus Hill. The allegation was sexual harassment and unlawful physical contact. Her legal team argued that Marcus had violated her bodily autonomy, that he grabbed her chest and torso without consent, that emergency does not override personal rights, that the force used caused emotional distress and lingering trauma, that intention, however noble, does not erase impact. They requested damages. Marcus found out when a process server knocked on his door. He was stunned. By his account, he had replayed that moment in his head dozens of times. He believed he had done the right thing. He told investigators he didn't even think.
He saw danger and reacted. "If I thought about it," he said later in a deposition, "she'd be dead." You don't debate physics. You don't negotiate with a 2-ton vehicle moving at 40 miles per hour. But belief is not a legal defense, and instinct, it turns out, can be prosecuted. Once the complaint became public, the footage leaked. That's when America chose sides. Social media exploded. Headlines hardened. One camp called Marcus a hero. Another asked why a man needed to grab a woman at all. Couldn't he have shouted? Couldn't he have reached for her arm? Why her torso? Others said the racial dynamics couldn't be ignored. A black man touching a white woman in public. A white woman weaponizing the legal system against a black man who saved her life. Old wounds reopened. Old scripts replayed. The debate wasn't just about Marcus and Lauren. It was about Emmett Till, about Amy Cooper in Central Park, about every black man who has ever hesitated before helping a white woman because history taught him that gratitude and accusation are separated by nothing but perception. Protests followed. In Milwaukee, then Chicago, then Atlanta, members of the black community marched with signs reading, "Saving a life is not a crime," and "If he hesitated, she'd be dead." Civil rights leaders weighed in. So did legal scholars. Philosophers debated the ethics of intervening without consent. Psychologists discussed trauma responses. Everyone had an opinion. No one had an answer. Marcus became a symbol, whether he wanted to or not. His face appeared on murals. Strangers donated to his legal fund. Others sent death threats. Lauren disappeared from public view. Her social media accounts were deleted. Her employer released a statement distancing themselves from the case. She received hate mail. She received support. She was called ungrateful. She was called brave. She was vilified and defended in equal measure, neither of which addressed what she actually felt. At the first legal hearing, the tension was suffocating. Lauren sat beside her attorney, Thomas Reynolds, a seasoned civil litigator known for aggressive courtroom strategy. He framed the case carefully, not as racism, not as ingratitude, but as law. Consent, Reynolds told the court, does not evaporate in chaos. We are not animals governed by instinct alone. We are human beings bound by rules. And when those rules are broken, no matter how good the intention, the harm is real. My client did not ask to be saved in that particular way. She did not consent to being grabbed. And trauma does not negotiate. It does not pause to assess intent. It simply is. He emphasized that Marcus did not verbally warn Lauren, that he did not push her shoulder or pull her arm. Options, Reynolds argued, that existed even in crisis. That his hands were positioned around her torso, that contact matters, that context does not erase consequence. Marcus's attorney, Diane Foster, a public defender who had taken the case pro bono, countered with footage, timing analysis, and expert testimony. Accident reconstruction specialists confirmed that without intervention, Lauren would likely have been struck, possibly killed. A biomechanics expert testified that pulling someone by the arm in that scenario could dislocate a shoulder or fail to generate enough force. That Marcus's method, while invasive, was mechanically sound. But here's the uncomfortable truth.
The law does not clearly protect Good Samaritans in all contexts. Some states have immunity statutes, others don't, and none of them were written with this scenario in mind. And the racial undertone never left the room. The prosecution avoided saying it outright, but the implication hovered like smoke. Would Lauren have reacted the same way if Marcus were white? Would fear have turned into gratitude instead of suspicion? Would the grabbing have been framed as rescue rather than violation? The defense never asked that question directly, but the jury would, and so would the country. Outside the courthouse, protests intensified. Counter-protests appeared. Commentators argued over whether this was about race or responsibility, consent or consequence, law or morality. Employers quietly distanced themselves from Marcus. His name trended. His life unraveled. He lost shifts. He lost sleep. He stopped taking the bus. Lauren's lawyers argued she was being vilified for asserting her rights, that gratitude cannot be forced, that survival does not erase violation, that a woman's body is her own, even in emergencies. Marcus said very little publicly. When reporters cornered him outside his apartment, he offered only this: "I'd do it again. I don't know what else to say. I'd do it again." At the final hearing, the judge leaned forward and paused longer than usual before speaking. He acknowledged the heroism argument. He acknowledged the legal ambiguity. He acknowledged the racial tension that had transformed a 2-second decision into a national referendum on trust, fear, and history. And then he adjourned the court, stating the decision would be issued in writing within 30 days. No verdict yet, no closure, just a country holding its breath. So here is the question that remains unanswered, not just in Milwaukee, but in every intersection, every subway platform, every moment where intervention requires touch. In a nation shaped by history, fear, and law, if a black man saves a white woman's life without permission, is he a hero or is he a liability? And more importantly, what will the next Marcus Hill do when they see someone about to die? Will they hesitate? Will they calculate? Will they let someone walk into traffic because the cost of saving them might be higher than the cost of doing nothing? And if they do hesitate, if that split-second pause means the difference between life and death, who is responsible then? The law? History? Or all of us? The camera doesn't show what happens after Marcus walks away. It doesn't show him sitting on his couch that night, staring at his hands, wondering if he made a mistake. It doesn't show Lauren in therapy, trying to untangle survival from fear. It doesn't show the next person at the next intersection, frozen, unsure, afraid. It only shows 2 seconds. But those 2 seconds might define the next 100 years.
So now I'm asking you directly, what would you have done? If you were Marcus, would you have pulled her back? If you were Lauren, how would you have responded? This isn't a simple question, and there are no easy answers, but the conversation matters. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe, because stories like this, the ones that challenge us, the ones that make us uncomfortable, these are the stories that matter most. Thank you for watching, and thank you for thinking.